Gates of Orchid and Iris is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. Remember to like, share, comment, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Hello, this is Gates of Orchid and Iris. I am the GM, Paul. And who is playing tonight?
This is Sebastian, Cbass, and I'm playing Ikoma Chusei.
This is Gatts, and I'm playing Kaio Suko.
This is Ludo, and I'll be playing Matsu Erika.
This is Rachel, and I am playing Kuni Suiko.
I'm Mason, I'm playing Shishiro Saika.
I'm Kay, and I will be playing various NPCs today.
It's a dark night in early Tiger. It's winter time. It's late winter, so it's dark early, but it's very early in the morning. A light snow has covered the ground, and we see, or maybe we barely see, a figure in the dark. So, when you're out this early in the morning, what do you look like, Ikoma Chusei?
So if Chusei's out this early in the morning, usually he's not just running his morning chores for Lady Matsu, Hanako, but rather he's up to no good. He's pursuing something personal. He's looking for information. Maybe he's going to meet somebody. But as far as what he's wearing at this time of day, what he looks like, with the light snow, he doesn't want to wear black. He wants to wear something that's like a muted gray, I would say. Muted gray, Hakimoto, something that's not going to stand out like his usual court wear.
Mm-hmm. And you are in the Merchant District, near let's just call it a parking lot, where if people bring palanquins, they usually park them here, and then they take a ferry to Teardrop Island, which is the red light district in Ryoko Owari. It's a fairly popular spot, especially when people are trying to find warm companions during the cold winter. And a particular magistrate, the current Emerald Magistrate, or at least he was until this point, Ashitaka, something's happened, and the only reason we can see your silhouette, because of the coloring of your clothing in the light snow blending in, is that there is a bright light a little off in the distance behind you. You just witnessed something horrible. And that blue flame, or the blue light that is behind you, has to do with it. How is your character feeling right now? What's going on through Ikoma Chusei's head?
So like any other Ikoma that anybody would know, Chusei has a hard time keeping his true feelings off of his face, so to say, especially in this moment. You can see a look of surprise, shock, and awe. And what might not be so apparent if you didn't know Chusei personally is that he feels utterly mortified. He feels like things have totally spun in his head. This is not what he expected when he came to Ryoko Owari. And what was just a simple rendezvous meeting with somebody pretending to be a customer has now turned into something nightmarish. Something he wouldn't have fathomed.
And are you trying to like still keep a low cover, or at this is it like just a panicked run at this point?
So at first it was deer in headlights. He wasn't sure what to make of it, but after you said there was a blue flame around. Yeah, Chusai does not mess with anything supernatural. He doesn't know anything about it, so he's going to book it.
So you start booking it. It's sounds like a panicked run, so you don't know which direction you're going, but you can hear after a while the familiar alarm bells go off for the city guard. And then, after you go quite a distance, and probably finally make it back to the noble quarter where the Lion Compound and Matsu Hanako lives, you finally hear the alarm to go off throughout the city. It's kind of like the fire alarm. But specifically, it's well, there's different alarms. One's for like city magistrate, then the Thunder Guard, and sometimes, if needed, it's for the actual firemen who run the cities. But you hear an alarm for the Thunder Guard and for the actual Emerald Magistrate or their Yuriki. And you would be in the perfect spot to see if the Yuriki actually come out and call the alarm, but no one comes.
So Chusai is hand on head right now. Can't believe what's going on. But even though he's ran away from it, he doesn't want to miss something important. I mean, he's... does he know why this magistrate was here to begin with? Is it just because of the underground operations in Ryoko Owari?
You weren't specifically in the know of why he was here, but through the network that you do have, he was here to replace the Matsu Emerald Magistrate that left. They kind of got fed up with the city and left the post.
Okay. I mean, this matter is, somebody, well, I guess, was Chusai there before actually just seeing the dead body? Like, was he there for the magistrate getting murdered?
No, you were there witnessing basically the aftermath. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Chusei is going to get far enough to get away from the blue flame, and then seeing he's not being pursued, he's going to round his way back. So that way, maybe now if nobody's guarding the body or going to the body, you can start checking things out and seeing what exactly transpired. If there's any notes left, any evidence left.
So you start looking over the evidence, and you don't have much time to pass it over. But you see now why the Emerald Magistrates and their Yuriki didn't answer, because they're all here.
Okay. So I'll listen in on their conversation then.
Well, when I say they're all here dead.
Oh. Okay.
The Thunder Guard with Jocho is Shishiro Jocho is there. He sounds very tired as he speaks. And Mayu, the person who usually handles dead bodies for the Thunder Guard and Magistrate, is looking things over. And there's not much conversation. It's silence. And most of the time when you're eavesdropping on things like this, there's usually like conversation. People are trying to like make it a little bit more easy to cope. But with the scene and what you saw, you have a feeling everyone's feeling uneasy about this. And after a half hour of trying to look over the scene in lantern light, Mayu turns around to Shishiro Jocho and says, "I'm not sure how this occurred. I'm sorry, Shishiro-san, but they were all strangulated out here, and something clearly sprayed acid or some form of corrosive on their face. And as for the Emerald Magistrate, he's burnt alive, but there's no sign that anyone forced their way into the palanquin or an ignition source. It just seems like he and he kind of stops and takes a gulp. And Jocho, you can hear his heavy riding boots go across the ground of the parking lot, and he looks in. And there's a few more moments of silence. And Jocho looks around one last time. All of the Eurykis and the Emerald Magistrate in one place. This is not good. Gates of Orchid and Iris will return in a moment.
Welcome to Cultural Explorations. During this gameplay break, let us explore Asian culture. Today we will talk about how Chinese tea traveled from China to other countries. In 593 of the Sui dynasty, Buddhist monks introduced tea to Japan. However, the planting of tea trees in Japan didn't occur until 1192. Tea was introduced to Korea in the mid-600s of the Tang dynasty by monks. Korea began producing their own tea after 828. In 641, a princess sent to Tibet for marriage introduced the custom of tea drinking, which became popular in Tibet from the 700s onwards. During Southern Song dynasty from the 1120s to the 1270s, saw Marco Polo write about tea from his travels in China. China also began trading with Arabia, Italy, and several African countries. The Ming Dynasty of the 1360s to 1640s saw tea travel even further. Tea planting was done in Indonesia, and in 1610 the East India Company introduced green tea to Europe. In 1637, China began trading with more countries such as Britain, France, and Spain. During the Qing Dynasty, which went from 1644 until 1911, saw trade caravans to Russia begin in 1735, bringing tea drinking there as well as India starting toward producing tea in the late 1700s. Today, China is the top producer of tea, followed by India and Kenya. In terms of consumption, China still ranks the highest with 1.6 billion pounds a year. However, if you look at consumption per person, this changes. In terms of kilograms per person drank, Turkey leads the group with the UK and Iran rounding out the top 3. Thank you for listening. Want to learn more about this and other topics? Visit our Patreon page for longer cultural explorations. And now, back to the story.
They start to do the usual thing, start moving all the bodies. Because, no one wants to come upon the scene. So you're just in earshot, right?
Yeah, basically. What I'm imagining is Chusei was already dressed up as just somebody who's a casual client, so to say, of Teardrop Island. Hair is disheveled and wearing regular commoner garb, even if it is gray and kind of blends in with the snow a little bit. It's just not standing out is really the important thing. So I think Chusei wouldn't be trying to hide himself necessarily, so he can still try to peek around the buildings that they're in. I guess you said they're like a parking lot?
Yeah, it's kind of this parking lot has like barriers between each spots, so clients can privately go to the ferries without like many people gawking at them. So this was kind of like in its own little parking area.
Yeah, okay. So Ikoma's going to sit nearby. He's going to have his head forward, his hair is draping over his face, basically, as he was listening in. He's going to try looking over without making it too obvious. But as he was hearing them, I mean, there was chills going up his spine. Acid, that's insanity, burning entire squads of the Yoriki and Magistrates forces. That's unbelievable. And Chusei's never heard anything described like that except for in fairy tales and fiction, and even not to that grueling extent. That's horrific.
Actually, before we continue any further, since you're trying to like not be noticed and not like make too much of you're trying to be conspicuous.
Yeah, I don't want them coming over asking me questions, basically.
That sounds like a roll that will have to be done. Let's do. Sounds like an air. And probably something like performance.
Skullduggery?
Skullduggery works as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, either. Either would probably fit the scene. TN would probably be against the highest vigilance.
If it helps, I have keen hearing, so maybe I can, start to hear if their footsteps approach and get out of there.
Sure, I will give you that because
you're gonna need it. Okay.
You're gonna need it because it's gonna be a 4 either way.
All right, 4. Cool.
Yep, the team is 4.
So I'll take the skullduggery since you're gonna let me use it. That's my higher skill. All right, let's see. I'm also gonna use a void point too.
Good idea.
Jeez, I didn't need it. All right, let's see.
And remember, your keep is up by 1. So when you use a void point, and you did you get the extra black die from your void?
Yeah, sure did.
Okay, cool.
And I'm re-rolling for my distinction right now.
Cool. You got a very solid roll with everything with successes on it, so. And it looks like if you want to take more strife, you can start re-rolling more. So.
Woohoo! Man, this is good. All right. Well, that is an ultra success. I was really hoping for some opportunities, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 successes, but I got 3 strife, which is it's not half of my composure, but it's a lot. And I would say that's because he's just so nerve wracked that he's like, please don't come over here and ask me questions. Please. I really don't want to, really just want to mind my own business and then investigate on my own time.
So you're standing there, you're listening to everything that's going on. And as I said before, it's strange that not everyone is talking. Usually there's a lot more talking and conversations between whoever's doing the investigation and Mayu, but it's not the point this time. Everyone's oddly silent. You can even feel the you can even feel the air around you. It's cold enough to snow, but now it's feels even colder, and almost the atmosphere is weighing down on you.
Absolutely. Even though the atmosphere is absolutely cold, my blood's running hot. I'm feeling jumpy.
So it takes a while for them to gather up all the bodies and start hauling them out. You can hear them literally stacking bodies in a cart and taking them away. And Jocho finally asks, as he's observing everything, so this was the enrolled magistrate. His 3 Eureki and his servants that pulled this palanquin. Mayu makes a grunt, confirming it. And you can almost feel the emotion come from Jocho of just disbelief. He just lets out a sigh. And it's almost like the steam from his mouth just swirls and stays at the scene. It seems like all the breath of everyone is not helping lighten the atmosphere. And finally, the question happens. Did the Yojimbo or Eureki have time to draw their swords? Mayu pauses and thinks. No, none of the swords were drawn.
Yeah, Hikoma's guts drop. Like the pit of his stomach just, he feels it. That's not good. This thing is fast, whatever it is.
As you think back to the scene again, you clearly remember 3 black figures that seem to jump from the ground and hop over the fences.
So fences, we're talking about several feet in the air.
Several feet in the air.
Yeah, that's definitely supernatural. Chusa doesn't even know what to think of it. Again, anything supernatural that's ever been told to him has been through some kind of fairy tale with a moral to the story, but now you have all these people dead who are just doing their job. What's the moral to that story, right? This is real.
And as you stand there and listen, you see a pair of eyes flash at you in the dark from on top of one of the fences. Thank you for listening to Gates of Orchid and Iris. Remember to share, comment, and rate us where you can. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe, like, and hit that bell notification button. Support this podcast by either going to our Anchor.fm page and hitting the listener support button, or supporting us through Patreon. On Patreon, the $1 level not only will help improve this podcast, but you will receive an extended version of the cultural exploration segments monthly. And we have a lot of other fun things planned for Patreon.